lately I have done an exhibition, and in relation to that I also did a lecture on how I got my images in extreme situations in the mountains. So that is what this movie is all about. First, a little thing about myself. I have a small company called K2 Adventure, and I'm a geologist, also studied IT and have worked as IT project manager for many years. I have through that time also worked as a mountain guide and have photographed since the age of 7, so that's quite a long time. I started climbing in 1978 and went to the Himalayas first time in 1988, and then I did commercial expeditions later on. In my younger years I was a very fast runner and even made it to the Danish national team for juniors, and I won a lot of races and also had some very good runs among international runners. And that's quite important for my later career as a mountaineer. You'll see, as a mountaineer and photographer, you will see why later on that it was important that I was in great fitness from the start. And I've continued this through my whole life. I've been running almost every day, and I'm now 68. So this is me at the age of 18, where I took a self-portrait just when I started climbing also, and I quickly went to the Alps to climb, and also took my photography and filming with me. I filmed Super 8 earlier, but I changed to 16mm now, and also some very professional equipment here, a Pentax 6.7, which was my first really large camera that I bought. Now I'll take you up a small trip on Mont Blanc, and that'll actually show you why it's so important to be in great fitness. I stayed in a bivouac here in this lovely site with beautiful weather and very nice views. And I started early morning, but later than everyone else, to have those lights coming up the mountain. But I also wanted to have images down, looking down on the others coming up. So I had to overtake them on the way. And this I did, and was reaching the summit just before sunset. So I could look down on the shadow of Mont Blanc casted into the mist in the valley. And only 4 people reached the summit before me. I overtook around 200, and some Scottish people took a portrait of me. So I could get the images when the sun got up, with the stark contrast between the side with the sun hit and the shadow side. Very nice. And well, this is going down, so all those people I had to pass on my way down, as I went down the same way as I came up. So I went around 200 people on this very narrow ridge going down. This was a group led by this guy who's a guide for them. But I was just on my own, so coming down and meeting all these 200 people, well, not the ridge is not that tight all the way, but most of the way it is actually pretty tight. So this is from another place on Mont Blanc, actually on Mont Blanc du Montmaudit. It's a satellite for Mont Blanc, and I took this very nice image, but now I'll show you where we actually had to go just to get this single image. That is one of my best from the mountains. So this is what we had to climb to get this image of the ridge that is below us now. And that's me with the red helmet, and we passed those people just below us. They were in the image as well. But I got some really nice images on this route here, looking over the clouds and only the biggest mountains coming up through the cloud cover. This is my friend Jan, and together with him I also climbed on Mont Blanc du Jacul, and this image I like very much because it has some optical flaws in it, but that's actually what adds some character to this image. And also this one that really shows how the obstacles that you have to pass on your way. And talking of obstacles, this is nice with Jan and the valley below. It's very, very far down. And this image is also showing some character because it's actually not very sharp, but I think that it's very good anyway, because it really adds to the feeling in the image. But now I'll take you on a trip with my daughter up a mountain called Bar des Écrins in a mountain area south of Mont Blanc. And it was very early morning when we started, and it's a beautiful trip, and watch my daughter how much she likes this kind of experience. We are talking Danish to each other. And the ridge is very narrow, but she has a good balance. We have to move across this to get to the summit further up. And now the last few meters up to the summit of Bar des Écrins. As she's gonna sing out the name of the mountain in just happiness when she gets there.
Yes! We did it!
But now let's go to the Himalayas. 2,500 meter long chain of mountains, and here I went in 1988 for the first time to climb this mountain, Mont Blanc. And it was a tough trip, but I got some very nice images from it here. My partner very tired after climbing a steep part, and next morning, or 2 days after actually, having a bivouac before continuing towards the summit. My partner was tired, but the other guy who was with me, Søren, I went to the summit with him, and just shortly before the summit of Mont Blanc, I took this lovely image that shows the background and all the way we come up the mountain. So everything is shown here, very nice. So this is the first 8,000 meter peak that I went to, Dhaulagiri, 8,167 meter high, and I went very high with my partner Jan. We climbed to almost 8,000 meters before turning around in a storm, and I got some amazing images of this is Tibet that you see from the summit. We didn't reach the summit, but our expedition leader later got these images of his own footprints up the summit ridge. So actually we think the expedition was a happy one, because one guy reached the summit and we all came back without any kind of problems, no frostbite or anything, so very good. A few years later we went to Broad Peak in the northeastern part of Pakistan and went up the Karakoram glacier, which is 70 kilometers long, and as opposed to what people might think of glaciers, it's not only ice, there are big rivers on these glaciers, and you can get some really stunning photography up there. Also, when we go up, we meet some very steep mountains, and some of these mountains are beautiful to photograph in nice weather, but actually wait for the bad weather, wait for the snowstorm, then you get the really good images. So it's not always about good weather. Good weather is not good photography weather. So this is the mountain we were going for, named Broad Peak, consisting of 3 separate summits. So this is one way to photograph it, but it's much nicer if you get people into the image, that's one thing, but at that distance it wouldn't look very big. So much better taking the image when you are ascending it and you have the shadow of the mountain down on the glacier, then you suddenly realize what a big mountain you're on. And if you really want to show the scale of the mountains, this is a way to do it, where you can see the big, huge glaciers actually coming down and running down, forming the Baltoro Glacier, the 70-kilometer long glacier. Wonderful area to be in, but also wonderful area to photograph. After around a month acclimatizing, we finally reached the summit. This is Patsy, a Spanish guy that went with us, and Jan was a bit slow on the last part, but he's coming here a quarter of an hour after the others. And here Patsy is taking our image on the summit with the second highest mountain in the world, K2, just behind us. A mountain that I have feared always and have never felt that I was ready to climb. In 1996 I went to Everest for the first time. That was the year of the big catastrophe where so many people died. And there's been written several books about this, and also made several films about it. So this is a year of so much grief. I was part of an international expedition, and I came to climb with this guy, a very experienced Finnish climber, Viesturs Gustafsson. But first of all, we went to Lubutje Peak to acclimatize at 6,000 meters, because this is the altitude at which the Everest icefall reaches. And after that, we went to Kalabatar to film the sunset on Mount Everest, the beautiful sunset on Mount Everest. Photographing at nighttime is not always very easy. Here I tried to take a good image of base camp in front of the Everest icefall, but I've taken shots from base camps later that were much more beautiful. Just look at the sky here, and the moon is lighting up the mountain and the stars are visible, and then there's life in the tent as well. So that's a really good image from base camp. Showing the scale of the Everest icefall is another photographic challenge, and also showing the challenges that you meet if you want to pass the icefall. But if you get persons into the image, you really see what scale it is on. Just look at how small we are compared to the big blocks of ice in the icefall. And crossing glaciers, glacier crevasses, like this is an okay image. You can also try shooting downwards, but that doesn't really portray the challenge. And going up steep parts of the Everest icefall like this, maybe not so good. Maybe this is a bit better, but then you might do it like this in the portrait orientation, and then it becomes really huge, and you can see what kind of scale you're on here. I got my partner to take an image of me as well, climbing with big rucksack and also all the photographic equipment. We were on a way to show what the challenge is when you are crossing crevasses. And this is one way to show it, but you can also film it, of course, and I carried a big camera to do this. But how did we actually get those images? Well, we of course had to hang down in the crevasse on a rope and do our filming and photography. Other places in the icefall were so dangerous that I did never get really good images from it. This was called the mouse trap, and it was sort of a big overhanging ice block that we thought at one point it would collapse and catch us like mice. But actually after 2 months passing through the icefall, everything had changed except one thing, that was the mouse trap. That stood just like it had done from the beginning, so we didn't need to fear it that much. But I didn't never get any good footage from it because I did not dare to stop there. Another image of me with my camera, a small video camera, shooting on the Lhotse wall where Vika is now going up, and this image also has a lot of character to it, and it is actually flaws in the optic that gives us this kind of image. So I'm not very fond of perfect photographic equipment. Well, for some purposes, yes, but this kind of character is very nice. But 1996 was also the bad year on Everest, where all the accidents happened and many people died. Mike and I decided the day before it all went wrong to go down. We judged that the weather wasn't stable, and 3 days in a row with bad weather, we thought fourth day would be the same. But a lot of other people didn't think so, and they ended up queuing up against the summit and not being able to find their way down in the bad weather that came upon them. So I ended up being kind of a war zone photographer. At least 3 films have been made about this Into Thin Air, that also was written as a book by John Krakauer that you'll meet later on, and the big IMAX movie Everest, and then there was a movie in 2015 from Everest, and it's really strange watching this movie for me, because there are 2 scenes in this where actors actually play me. One of them I'll tell you about later. As things were beginning to go wrong and people were not finding their way down high up on the mountain back to the safe camp of Camp 4 in South Col, we were building a kind of command center where we were gathering some walkie-talkies from all the expeditions and getting information from everyone that connected us. So we actually made sort of a logbook in order to try and trace where people were on the mountain. It's actually this logbook that John Krakauer made his book Into Thin Air from. So we helped him make that book. After a couple of days, many started to appear in the emergency hospital that we made in Camp 2 at 6,400 meters, and one of them was Lene Gammelgaard, a Danish climber from the same country as me. She reached the summit, but nearly died in South Col, but she escaped anyway. But she had some minor frostbite, but that was only a minor thing compared to what else we did see in this hospital. One of the worst was Makalu Gao, a leader of a small Taiwanese team who had been sitting around high up on the mountain. I don't know exact height, but very high on the mountain, was rescued from there, and he suffered some very severe frostbite. He would lose some of his feet and some of his hands, and also his nose, that were to be reconstructed later on. These feet show how it can look after some years. It's from another incident at an earlier point. I don't remember whose feet it is, but they have no toes on them, so that's how bad it can go. Of course, he's not lost his life, but lost all his toes. The guy here in the middle is John Krakauer, the guy who wrote Into Thin Air from our logbook, and also from his own experiences on the mountain, but mainly from the logbook, and he has earned a lot on this incident. This is Beck Withers that you might have heard of. Actually, one of the movies are made on the basis of his story. He's also very badly hurt, but as you can see, he survived, but the guy in the lower right corner, he didn't survive, so that's how bad it can go. Another guy who made it very well was this guy, the Swedish guy Göran Kropp, who bicycled all the way from his hometown in Sweden to Kathmandu, and later on to the end of the road, carried his stuff to Everest and climbed Everest without oxygen, and returned on bike, though he had some sickness on the way home, so he had to stay for some months in a country on the way. I don't remember where, but he didn't take part in the rescue, but maybe understandable. But let's move to something much more fun. I'll take you to the northeastern part of Nepal, where we went for an expedition to some unclimbed mountains, an experience very few people will have. And this is Pandra, the only thing that we knew about it in advance, so taken from a very long distance and only showing the summit of it, and we were thinking we knew how to get there. But we were going to do a lot of exploring before getting to the mountain. Actually, we had 3 maps and they were different, so we didn't know which way to get into our mountain at least. So we had to explore a lot, and we went for a trip up a mountain that was too dangerous for us, but it gave some photographic opportunities that I liked a lot. Had some very nice cloud cover in the valleys, and the big mountains sticking up, just like nunataks on the Greenland ice.
Jan
is saying that he has found his place to sleep, so that's quite nice for him. And here he is in his bed underneath a big rock. There were 2 on one side and and I was on the other side. In the 3rd attempt, we actually managed to find a valley that went up to the mountain Pandra we were trying, and we had this bivouac on the way, and then we started the real climb. Hard work it is, yes, for sure. After the steep snow gully, we actually didn't know exactly where we were on the mountain, but we just continued upwards, and after a couple of hours more we saw something that looked like the summit, so we stride on for it, and then I could take the image of the first humans on top of Pandra. But you're not safe before you're down, so that was a long way to go before we were safely down in the bivouac. And it took us into the night, but amazing photographs you can take then, so that's a bit of an upside. We haven't been lucky so far. The weather has been terrible and very unstable, but now we had some days of good weather, and 4 days later we actually attempted another unclimbed mountain called Danka, but it had a very steep access to its glacier plateau before actually climbing up the mountain itself. So here we are, going on to the glacier. And as you can see, I was together with the others, in the beginning behind and now in front, filming the others coming up. And it is tough work. And here again, letting the others pass me, so there I can show the size of the climb, and then I'm in front again. As I told you in the beginning, it's an advantage to be a runner. Jan is talking about, I asked him if it was easy, and he said, yeah, we thought it was, but it wasn't, and then it was difficult to cross a glacier, and there was a steep section, and after that there was another section that we thought would look easy, but it wasn't. But now he thinks it's easy. And again, I'm in front, filming from above, where Alan is coming up, and we are nearing the summit. We're very close, actually. That's the actual summit, very slender summit. And you can get a good image of this. Yes. Now I was filming, but we also took photos of this. And then Jan coming up with Kanchenjunga, the world's third highest mountain in the background. Amazing photos to have. And then these 2 happy guys.
Tillykke med anden første bestigning i Himalaya. Fandme så, anden første bestigning i Himalaya. Okay.
I think this time the photographer also wants to be in the frame, so now I have put the camera on my ice axe with a small holder, and then I can get into the image as well. And it's a really nice day with not much wind. But yeah, we're talking about the flag. It won't unfold because there's no wind. But well, it doesn't matter. We're happy.
Ja, det er faktisk en god topdag, ja.
And that's why we're happy. First humans on the summit of Dange, the second unclimbed peak that we did on this expedition. So now you've seen what kind of awesome images you can get from these extreme places. This place is actually not so extreme. It's the summit of Kilimanjaro, very accessible. I do tour trips every year with a group of people. But also take a look at the images in this video, and if there's something you'd like on your wall, please contact me at the stated email address, or have a look at my books, which are available in many online bookshops. So thank you very much for this time, and bye for now.